Hey everyone, this is PrinceWatercress, and welcome back to Let's Play Die Hard for the NEC PC Engine. In the last video, we made our way through the maze-like quarter of Stage 9, and we are now at Stage 10, the 10th and final stage of this game. Without further ado, let's begin. And you want to be very careful where you're going. There are a lot of guys with grenade launchers. Just watch the bottom, so that way you know where you're going and you don't get hit. At least not a whole lot. Some of these guys will be on balconies that you can't walk up to. And thanks to the darkness and your limited amount of visibility, you can barely see. Unless you somehow run into them. However, if they are on the balconies, you can jump up to them and hit them, which is great. So there is that. Also, keep an eye. Really? Keep an eye. Really, that actually hit me? Keep an eye on the enemy health meter, so that way you know you're approaching an enemy. That's something you really want to be able to do while you are in this part of the stage. Also, those explosions really have more range than you would think they do. In case you take a lot of damage through this part of the stage, there is going to be a guy with a first aid kit, which is excellent. So whatever you do, try to survive as well as you can. And be sure you always get those bottles of beer in case any of the enemies drop them, because you're going to need them. It's a good thing you can violate the laws of perspective in this game while you're shooting enemies down. And there's the first aid kit. To the right is the final boss battle where the bad guys get away in a helicopter. They're trying to get away in a helicopter. Time to finish this. So, you want to shoot at the plane while avoiding the bullets. And when the homing missiles are shot at you, you want to keep jumping while shooting at the plane. Every so often, the plane will drop power-ups as you do damage to it, which is excellent. Sometimes it'll be grenade launchers, sometimes it'll be machine guns, sometimes it'll be health. Make sure you keep your health as high as possible, by the way. And thankfully, unlike the other pickups that you get throughout the game, the pickups that are dropped by the helicopter, they don't disappear after a few seconds. They stay on the screen until you really need them, which is good, because you're going to need them. Also, make it a habit not to jump when you just see the regular red bullets. Once you see the missiles, start hopping around. Also, I was probably going to run out of machine gun ammo anyway. The machine gun on the plane fires more and more the more you bring it down. Also, when you bring the boss down to 2 units of health, you'll be able to get a first aid kit, I think. I think you have to get it down to below 2 units of health. And there it is. You need to get it down to at least 1.5. If you can survive and get the enemy down to that much and survive that long, not only will you get the first aid kit, but you'll also get the flamethrower. Really concentrating here in case it took me so long to mention the flamethrower. With the flamethrower, you can really destroy all the missiles, as well as a helicopter. And with that, that is Stage 10 and Die Hard beaten. And that is the ending for Die Hard for the PC Engine. Believe it or not, there are 4 difficulties for the game. And you have to access the debug mode in order to get them. And if you beat the game on difficulty 3 or higher, there's 4 in total, you actually get the credits after this. Only thing is, nobody's ever played the other loops. And the other loops are, of course, harder and can only be accessed through the debug mode, as far as I can tell. Will I play the other loops? Probably not, but never say never. But for now, that is Die Hard, as most people who have played it know it, cleared. So how does this game measure up? Well, game takes really creative liberties with the plot. Like, the developers were just given an outline of the plot, and they just kind of worked with that. So therefore, this doesn't match the movie precisely. But even then, it still looks a lot more playable than the NES version. It looks a lot less intimidating, even though it can get difficult. Graphics are pretty good. You can easily tell who everyone is supposed to be. You can easily identify John McClane. Sound and music. Music's alright. The only real standouts are Stage 1 and Stage 8. There's some music there. I just wish there was a little more of it. Sounds, they're alright. They're the usual explosive, action, gun-toting, gun-shooting fare. Nothing to write home about, but at least it's not horrible. Play control. I didn't have much of a complaint with it. I'm surprised I was even able to get through the game, to be honest. The fact that you can jump up and take out enemies not only on buildings with your gun, but also take out enemies that are higher on the screen than you are, even though you're both on the same floor level, is a nice touch. You can violate the laws of perspective by doing that, but so can the enemies. You can just jump into bullets that aren't even moving towards you at all just because you jumped into them, just into their relative location. But other than that, I really couldn't complain. I didn't have any problem with the responsiveness with the controls or anything. Although, with the flamethrower, it is possible to turn around or spin around in place, which can make things a little difficult, but you don't have the flamethrower all that often. Like, you get it enough times, but you get it enough times. And it kind of makes that less than a problem, but still, nothing like being able to move when you need to because you're spinning in place with the flamethrower, or while shooting in general, and sometimes, and take hits you don't want to take. That's my only real gripe about the controls. As for the replayability, once you know about the debug code, the debug mode code, and the 4 difficulties and the ability to switch through them through that, you can get some extra mileage out of this, although the higher difficulties that you can access are much harder. Other than that, the game's a short one. You can beat this game in, oh boy, less than an hour at least, if you know what you're doing. And finally, the replay value, or I already did replay value. Finally, should you get this game, it's worth checking out, especially if you don't like the NES version. I personally had fun with this one myself. Especially had fun figuring out the maze-like corridors of stage 3, I believe. Was it stage? Yeah, it was stage 3 that was the maze. And you may like it, you may not. Of course, if you make it to the maze part, which I'm fairly certain you'll be able to do, you definitely want to be sure you have the maze figured out, because you're going to have to get it figured out eventually. And so, that has been Let's Play Die Hard on the NEC PC Engine. Hopefully I will be back with another game. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be bad. Maybe it'll be somewhere in between. Who knows? Until then, this is PrinceWatercress. Take care. Stay safe. Thanks for watching, and see y'all later!